going to our last talk, actually, and I'm very proud to introduce Kate. Kate will talk about culture, actually, organizational culture, and how culture impacts whatever you're building, actually. She will make it a bit more specific, but broadly saying, how does it impact? And I know many startups are thinking a lot about culture, and many startups are not thinking about culture at all. So we have the two opposites, actually, because some of you might think, we need to grow quickly, what does it matter how I run it? And some of you might think, this is the chance to run it in a certain way. So I'm very curious about what Kate has to tell. Yeah, let's give the stage for Kate, and a big applause.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Kate Hobler, and just like Matt doesn't appear to be Dutch, I don't really appear to be Polish, but I am. My last name used to be a little more definitive if it comes to nationality, but it's not anymore. So I am a co-founder and CEO of a company called Willow, and I'm actually, in a very weird way, affiliated with Boulder, because the co-founder of Boulder, years and years back, looked at me and said, "You have so much to do, why don't you freaking scale?" And so I did. So I'm here because actually co-founder of Boulder kicked me in the behind and told me to scale, to actually become more than just a one-person company. So since then, I've been working with a lot of different companies. The smallest one I have been working with was only 4 people. The largest was a corporation that was over 120,000 people all across the globe. And I have to tell you that if it comes to culture, size does not matter. So let's look at how organizational culture actually impacts the ability to experiment, because it does, and it does significantly impact the ability to scale. And I can see some delicate or also violent head nodding, so I would say that we have people experienced in that. So let me start with a story. I used to work with a financial institution. It wasn't a bank, but let's just shortcut it to a bank. Lots of you probably have encountered a bank before. They're not very elastic, let's say. And if it comes to developing new products in a bank, lead times span into decades. So that particular financial institution really wanted to start experimenting, like really wanted to start experimenting. So they were so excited to show to us their first real experiment. So the guy from the bank said, "Okay, let's go. I'm going to show you what we have just built." I'm like, "Okay, so show me." So we are actually doing an MVP instead of a full product. Like, great, good for you. And we have just started, and we're almost releasing it. Like, okay, so let's see. So we come to the kind of like the office where they were building it, and we start talking to engineers, and they start showing us some humongous code base of almost 8 million lines of code. And we're like, what is this? Oh, this is the experiment. Like, okay, so which part is that experiment? The whole thing. Wait. You are supposed to experiment. You're supposed to build an MVP. An MVP is something you're supposed to be ashamed of. It's so bad and underdeveloped. Oh, no, we're not going to be ashamed of that. Because, see, this thing is so amazing. And it's kind of the first part of the zero release of that MVP. Okay, so when the MVP is going to be released? In 12 months. 12 months. Actually, in total, a year and a half to release an MVP. Actually, they failed to do that in the end, but still, what the heck were they so excited about? That's not an experiment. That's not an MVP. Why were they so excited? It all boils down to culture. So before I explain what happened there, I need to give you a crash course on value systems. Maybe some of you have already encountered like teal organizations concept or something similar, or you have heard of spiral dynamics or something like this. If you have, then it's going to be about that. If you haven't, I'm going to kind of give it to you in short. So value systems are something we believe in as humans. And when we are together, like in a company, our value systems, in order to actually work together well, they need to somewhat match. They need to be similar, they need to be compatible. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to work together. And there are lots of value systems, but we will focus on 5 most common in organizations. And if you are familiar with Laloux's colors, oh, this doesn't show. It's supposed to say Laloux's colors on the left and the spiral dynamics on the right, because those colors are, that's how they were presented in there. Yeah? So the value systems have colors. So on the top, there's a red value system. So a red value system is something where you treat your world as a jungle. It is a dog-eat-dog world, so you need to be powerful and strong. So that power and violence is something that dominates in that value system. So world is a jungle, I am powerful, I only trust myself, it's me and my strength, my weapons. Leadership is really accountable, but also confrontational. It's not bad leadership, it's just leadership that's fit for that kind of world. Yeah? And it's also very individualistic. So it's me and it's only me. I don't work in groups. I don't work in teams. It's me. I am strong. I have my weapons. This is something that, this is a value system that is quite common in especially organizations that kind of work under the law or above the law or on the side of the law. But also this is something that tends to be phased out but still visible sometimes in sales. Yeah, where salespeople are trying to undermine each other in order to get as much as possible out of their targets. Yeah? So stuff like this happens in business. And if we create an environment that supports this value system, we will get this value system. That's it. Yeah? But the problem with this value system is that it's small. So only a very limited number of people is able to tell that I am the strong one. So the next value system solves that problem because the next value system is hierarchical. In hierarchical systems, you are able, your power, your influence expands greatly. Yeah? So in hierarchical system, you treat the world as something that is very scary. So we need rules in order to make it safe, kind of to feel safe. And you can see it in lots of, like the traditional corporations. Yeah? This is what's happening. Or in governments, in governmental agencies. This is pretty common to have a hierarchy. There is the boss, and the boss is the law. Or actually, no, the boss is working according to the law, also making the law, but that law is very clear, and but the boss is the boss, and I am not the boss. Yeah? The leadership is very security and boundary oriented. So they want to bring security. They want to make sure that everybody feels safe, and they feel safe as well. And orientation is way more collective because it's us in the hierarchy. It's our level, our caste, our social level. Yeah? So this is very collective. But the problem with the hierarchical system is that they are very unjust. And people feel like they have been tricked because why am I just a specialist while they are the managers and they're the leaders or team leads? Who made them the team leads? They're not better than me. Yeah? And the next value system solves that problem because the next value system is capitalism. Yeah? So capitalistic or skill-driven value system is something where I am responsible for my own success. I know something, I can do something, or I have lots of resources that I can gather, and thus I can be regarded as somebody who is more important than others. And so I am responsible for my own success. Many of you probably heard that from your parents. Yeah? Because the generation before us was usually concentrated on this value system. Leadership is very result and challenge oriented. So there's this rat race in there where you want to get as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And it is individualistic, again, from collective to individualistic again. And this is how the majority of the market right now operates. When you look at, for example, the awards given to the best companies, those are the ones with the best valuation or the biggest growth that is shown in money. We're not giving awards to companies that are the best human-oriented companies, or actually they are not the most important in the business world. Yeah? But the problem with capitalism is that individual work is quite ineffective or inefficient. And people have noticed that actually teams work much better. And also, if you are that rich, lonely guy, you're not really happy because money don't bring happiness. That's why we have the green value system, the next one, which is teamwork. Teamwork and collectiveness. This is the moment where we start building groups and teams, where we start building communities, when we start looking for communities. This is why Facebook and their groups have become so powerful, because people were looking for others that are similar to us. Yeah? And the worldview is that we can actually grow together as a community. And leadership is very process and people-oriented. And some of you might look at that and say, huh, that looks like a Scrum Master. Yep, because agility is green. This is the value system that's there in agility, and that's why it doesn't work in hierarchical systems. Yeah? And orientation is, again, collective. And then we go into something that many people have not experienced yet. The majority of the world has not seen a teal organization or a teal system yet. Because in teamwork, the problem is that making decisions in a team is usually inefficient. It's very easy to feel safe in there. It's good to change directions. It's okay because there's the multitude of us that are able to work with that. But I lost myself in that team. It's starting to become communism. Yeah? And I need myself back. And this is where teal comes in, or yellow in the spiral dynamics. It's something called humanism in complex systems. And if you have never encountered that, that might sound gibberish, but that's the next thing. And it's very visible when large communicators talk about Gen Zs. Because Gen Zs care for both their community and themselves. They will not accept work that is working from 9 until 8 p.m. They care for their mental health, so they care for themselves also, and also for their communities. You can see that in all of the things that Gen Z is right now being bashed for. This is just evolution. Yeah? We're evolving as a humanity. And the worldview is here that I am an independent part of a complex whole, and complexity and change is something that's natural. Leadership is very inspiring, vision-oriented. Yeah? Young startups? Anybody? Yeah? And this is the first value system in which orientation is both individualistic and collective at the same time. And this is actually a breakthrough on the market. and in the way we approach entering the market in product development. So what do those mean if it comes to experimenting? Let's take a closer look. With experimenting, in the red system, it's basically non-existent. There's violence in there. We can't experiment. We either do it or don't. Yoda was right. With the amber or blue one, we can experiment with strict adherence to rules. In the orange one, we will be rewarded if our experiments are successful. If they aren't, we will be punished by the market because they didn't make money. So it will be frowned upon. In the green one, experimentation is much, much easier because even if you fail, you have that safe team to kind of back up to. Yeah? So even if you did something where you were kind of punished by the market, you come back and you will get a pat on the back and say, yeah, that's okay, we'll persevere through this. But with teal ones, or yellow, it's a natural part of work because they try to incorporate their visions into the market. So a question, where do you think, on which level was the company I started with, the bank, the financial institution? Which one do you think it was? Which color?
Yellow, red.
Yeah, red and yellow. That's right. It was actually way more yellow than red, but there were specks of red. They felt insecure. They needed a lot of security to experiment. They needed a year and a half of development to actually put the product on the market. So there's this strict adherence to rules. There's a security that's there. Yeah? They needed it. So that's why experiments are so clumsy in banking. Yeah? And all of those traditional hierarchical corporations. With the orange ones, this is quite interesting because they do experiment quite a lot. But the problem is that these experiments benefit singular people. They don't benefit the whole organization, they just benefit individuals. I used to work with, in one of the telecoms, I used to work with a manager of an R&D department, and he had a pretty interesting goal to achieve, which is to create as many products as possible that were generating revenue for the organization. What could be wrong with that? The thing is that because it was really, really, really orange, he created lots of those products, but he also worked politically inside of the organization for these products not to be actually like fully delivered to the market. It was the experiment only, because this was what would benefit him, not the whole organization. Yeah? So even in this situation, you need to be aware that some things like these might happen in an orange organization. Yeah? Green organizations might be a little slow in the market because they need to make collective decisions, but that's the worst that can happen. They're pretty good at experimenting. But if you really want to be great at experimenting and have it kind of, I'm just going to use that corporate bullshit, your DNA is that experimenting, then you need to go towards the teal. You don't have to be completely teal, but you should go towards that, yeah, to have elements of this so that the experimenting is going to be an integral part of your culture. And as I said before, size doesn't matter because you might be a 4-people company that is going to be extremely yellow. Or you can be a 10-person company that is going to be very, very, very orange or red. Yeah? Although if you are a bigger company, this seems to be a little harder to move kind of downwards on this. Measuring is also quite different in each of those because you cannot measure very advanced product things in those simpler, or actually not simpler, in those ones in the value systems that are on the top. Because in the red ones, you can do some down-to-earth measurements. You can have KPIs like money, like time, something that you can prove that this is the thing. Yeah? You need to have that proof. With yellow, it's very similar, or actually, technically, that's amber. So safety, money, that's also similar. But with orange, this changes. You jump into efficiency measures, because efficiency is okay. It's not only something that we know, but also something that we may produce in the future. So you need to have at least this value system in order to take advantage of efficiency, yeah, of measuring efficiency. In green, efficiency, but also the process. So you're starting to look not only at the outcome or output of your system, you're actually starting to measure the system itself and make it as good as possible. Yeah? So it's the customer first, and then your organization, your process starts responding because you're measuring it. Not only for the sake of security, but for the sake of actually delivering something interesting. And in the teals, you can virtually measure anything, use anything. So process outcomes, future outlooks, change, how fast you can change. Yeah? This is pretty important in today's growing market. Of course, every single one of those has some pitfalls. Like the red one is very limited to here and now. A red value system is almost unable to go to the future. The amber/blue one is impossible to move outside the rules. So we would need to change the internal company law in order to improve that, yeah? Improve on something. So there is a huge time to do that. Yeah? With the orange one, this is very good on the market right now, but experiments have to benefit me. Yeah? In a green one, there is the swiftness of market operation, but if you have collective decision-making, this can be hindered. In teal organizations, oh, those are the hippies of the market. Who wants to buy them? They're not investable. And actually, yeah, not many companies tend to invest in teal organizations because they don't understand how they work. They don't understand how they operate. They're unable to merge with them. Yeah? So it's actually up to you to choose which value system you want to strive for, because you will be a mixture of a few. There won't be a pure color of value system. You'll be a mixture. But the question is, which type of value system is you feel like it's something that speaks to you? And then you should adjust the way of experimenting or the options to experiment to the value system you have in your company. If you want to change the way you're experimenting, you need to start with evolving your culture to the point where that experimenting is going to be satisfactory for you. So, what's your culture fit? Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing this, Kate. 2 questions again from the audience, maximum. I see one in the front and then one in the back. Let's go to the front. Oh, you can do. You have the microphone ready? Perfect.
Yep, thank you for the really interesting talk. I'm curious, how do the teal organizations overcome the problem that the green ones have of team decisions taking a long time if they're also collective?
Usually first is you need to be able to, if you have a green organization and you want to kind of evolve your decision-making into teal, you need to start taking risks of actually individual decision-making. So, for example, at first start to not have decision-making meetings where you have everybody in there. Try to have a subset of people. And then make sure to make it transparent, so communicate heavily. What was the decision or what it was based on? And because decisions can be changed And once the whole organization learns that a decision can be changed, even if it was made by one person, if it can be changed, it starts getting a little more bearable for the subset of people to actually make that decision. And then you continue forward, to make it a smaller subset and a smaller subset and a smaller subset. And then you go into individual decision making, because everybody is going to be safe in thinking that, okay, that decision was made, but there is nothing wrong. If we find something more, we can change it. Yeah?
Second question was in the back, but I forgot where it was. There it was, see?
Thank you. This was a really interesting talk, even though I had different expectations for it. So my name is Sarah Higi, and I'm building my coaching business. So I actually work with highly driven people, individuals, but also companies. And my question is, it's like, I don't know if you, from your experience, you could say, what is the biggest factor that supports you as a service provider to induce teal, value system? Because in my experience, each one of us sitting here, we have our own sets of beliefs, right? And it's just very difficult to transform those beliefs into a teal value system. That's my experience, so I want to hear yours. Yep. Thank you.
There are actually many small things. I cannot say that there is one, but probably if you look at an organization, one will be kind of prevalent. But I would say that one of them would be inspiration. So for example, the fact that even though we're a small company, because we operate like this, because we know what we're talking about, we're capable of giving advice because we have lived through it. It's not an abstraction for us. Second would be relationships. We are unable to work with a company that we don't have an established relationship with. So we need to, we work in we call them ambassadors. So we're establishing ambassadors, so people who are really happy with what we deliver, and we're very happy with who we are. Another thing is going to be that capability of actually imagining what teal is. Because if we have leaders of a company that are unable to imagine how a teal organization might operate, they have never encountered it, they will feel like this is a fairy tale. Yeah? So we need to start from where they are and then just work ourselves up to another value system, because the next value system solves the problem of the previous one. But if you go 2 steps ahead, the problem that you're trying to solve has not emerged yet. So you're solving a non-existent problem, so it doesn't make sense. Yeah? And another thing is that if you, how to put it in words? If you're starting, you cannot start big. Yeah? So you really need to start small and kind of let them evolve at their own pace. It's impossible to speed it up, but it's possible to make it transparent that this is the way to go. Yeah? So just don't rush it. And I think that's what comes from the top of my head, but probably if I think about it for like 5 minutes, I will find like 15 more. So, sorry.
Thank you so much, Kate. Also, for anyone who wants to talk afterwards, Kate will be here for a while, I think. Yeah, you will be staying for drinks afterwards?
For a moment, yes.
For a moment, yes. So you have a chance for a moment at least to ask some questions. Can I get a very big applause again for Kate? Thank you so much for sharing.